Oh, hey, didn't see you there. You know what? No, I'm sorry. I got halfway through. That sounded better in my head. Honestly, I don't know why. I thought it would be funny, but I got halfway through that, and I'm just no. So today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. It's not going to involve me fishing. I am actually going to be giving you my top 5 favorite summer bass fishing baits. A little bit ago, during the springtime, the spring season, I gave you my top 5 spring baits that I would use. Spring's over. It's been over for a while now. Now it's summer, and it's been summer for a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and give you the top 5 summer bass fishing baits. So without further ado, let's get into it. So let's get into bait number 1. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you the bait, and I'm going to do this for all the baits I mentioned today. I'm going to tell you the bait, how to fish it, where to fish it, when to fish it, and then what rod and reel I would throw those baits on. So without further ado, let's get into bait number 1. Okay, kicking off spot number 1 is going to be any type of square bill crankbait. You can even throw some round bill crankbaits as well. Things that dive usually 4 to 6 feet, because usually in the summer when you're fishing square bills like this, you're going to be throwing them early in the morning and up against rocks, at least in my experience. Okay, so things like this. This is a square bill crankbait. This is made by Logix Fishing. It's called the Logix Saw. I actually went ahead and changed the hooks on these, put some Strike Kings on them, just because the hooks that came with them were just a little bit too small, and I felt that if I hooked the fish, they might throw it a little bit easier than these Strike King hooks that are a little bit bigger. So this is a really good color actually for dark and stained water. It's black, it shows up very good. It has a lot of rattles in it, so the fish will be able to key in on it, feel it in the lateral lines, and just chomp it. Another color is one of these that I throw. This is actually made by my good buddy Jason Special. I'm gonna focus on that right quick. Look at that color right there. That is just juicy. That is just juicy. That is made by my friend Jason Special. He custom paints his own crankbaits and jerkbaits as well. You should definitely go ahead and check his channel out. I'll go ahead and link him in the description below. But yeah, now I'm gonna get on to how I fish that. How I fish it is, I think I said this a little bit earlier, you throw it up against rocks and you just reel it along the rocks. Now you want it to get down and bump along those rocks. And if you're like, I don't really want to lose my bait, I feel like it'll get stuck in rocks. Well, these square bills are designed to, when they hit a rock, go hit the rock and just boom, slide right over it. Minimal chances of getting snagged up. That's why they're so effective. That's why everybody fishes them. That's why everybody loves them. Now, you also might be thinking to yourself, well, can I throw a rattle trap or a lipless? And to be honest, I'm gonna go ahead and say, yes. I mean, you can, and I'm sure you can catch some fish on it, but it's not gonna be as good as a square bill, because a square bill just displaces a lot of water, which in the summer the bass are going to be a lot more active, and they're going to be willing to chase their food more aggressively and at farther distances to get that meal. In a rattle trap is a tight wobble and is usually fished in cooler to cold water, just because it has a subtler action and it gets those finicky bass that don't really want to bite because they're lethargic. Now the rod and reel that I would throw this on, I would usually use, I'd say about a medium heavy 7'2" to 7'4" rod, something like this Johnny Moore's Carbonite. I know I talk about this rod a lot, but it really is my favorite rod to fish with. This thing has, oh God, please don't break. This thing has a really good backbone, but it's also very forgiving, so that when the fish smacks it, it will give a little so that he gets time to have it in his mouth. But then as soon as that backbone kicks in, it drives those hooks straight into the mouth, and you get a good hook set every time. Now the reel I would fish that with is, it's really up to you. I usually stick, and this is like with most of my reels, I usually stick with a 6:3 to 1 gear ratio, just because, I don't know, I don't know why. You can do whatever you want, honestly. You can have a higher gear ratio to get that bait in faster. You can have a slower one, like a 5-3-1, and get it in slower. I mean, it really is up to you. Now, the line that I would have on that is usually 20 pound, maybe 25 pound fluorocarbon. Perfect strength, so that if you do hook into a hog and he takes you into some brushes and stuff like that, you will have some abrasion resistance, so that you're not gonna snap off right away. Okay, so with that bait down, that's number 1. Let's move on to number 2 on this list. Okay, so bait number 2 is going to be pretty much my favorite way in the summer to fish for bass, and that is going to be topwater frog fishing. This frog in particular right here is made by Ribbit. It is a rubber frog and it does not float, so you have to cast it out and reel it in, but these paddle tails here just kick up a lot of water and the bass just freaking. Now the hook you want to throw that on is a topwater frog hook. Let me undo this just to show you guys. Okay, and that is this little Jimmy right here. If it'll focus, as you can see, it is offset, and that is exactly the hook you want to have. This particular hook is made by Gamakatsu. And you should know by now how much I love Gamakatsus. They're just laser sharp. Now you do need a very sharp hook when you're frog fishing like this, because most of the time when the frogs hit it, you're gonna be fishing on top of grass and thick cover and stuff like that. So when the bass gulps it, he will be gulping the bait, the hook, and probably about a pound of freaking whatever he's been sitting in, the grass, the reeds, lily pads, anything like that. So you really want that sharp hook so that it can just penetrate through all that cover and get into his mouth. So as to how to fish this, it's actually very simple. You find any cover that is somewhat shallow. I'd say the max you want to fish is about 5, maybe 6 feet, depending on water clarity. And you want to find the cover, the thick stuff. You want to throw it either along the cover, so the weed edge, anything like that, or you want to throw it right into it and keep it on top of it. Now, what's going to happen is when the fish bites, it's going to take it, and when it takes it, you want to wait at least 1.5 to 2 seconds before you set the hook. This just ensures that the bait is fully in its mouth, and that when you set the hook, it'll lodge in his mouth. Because a lot of the times, as soon as you see the splash, if you set the hook right away, it'll just pull it right out of his mouth because it has not had time to get it into his mouth. So wait 1 to 2 seconds, then yam him. Now, the rod and reel I'd be throwing that on is usually I'd be throwing a 7-foot to 7'2", medium heavy to heavy, or even extra heavy depending on how thick the brush is, or not the brush, sorry, the mats and the grass and stuff and the weeds are that you are fishing. What you're gonna want to do with the reel is you're gonna want to have, I'd say, 40 to 45 pound braid on there. You can go up if you want to, but I would not go any lower than 35 pound braid. That's just because when you set the hook, you're gonna be pulling the fish along with about 2 pounds of weeds with it. So, and if the fish is really big, you're gonna need that strong line and that really heavy rod to go ahead and horse them out of there. Because if you know anything about frog fishing, once you set the hook and they're under those mats, you don't let them play. You need to get them out of there because they will spit your hook faster than anything. Gear ratio on that reel, you can go from a 6-3-1, which is what I use. You can use a 7-3-1, you can use an 8-3-1, 8-5-1, things like that, depending on how fast you want to reel it in. I usually have a pretty fast reel in, so I just stick with the 6-3-1, sorry, gear ratio, and it just works fine by me. So okay, so that was bait number 2. Now let's get on to bait numero 3. Okay, so for bait number 3, it's gonna be another topwater, but this time it's going to be a popper. Something like this. This is just a little yellow belly chuck bug. These baits here, let me just zoom in on this guy right here. Come on, there you go. Look at that. Look at those colors on that thing. This is beautiful. Anyway, where you want to fish these, or before I get into that, let me just tell you how good these work. They work really good for largemouth. They work really good for smallmouth, surprisingly too. And usually when you fish them, you're not gonna fish them, and trust me, you are not going to fish these the same as you are frogs. You're not throwing these things in mats because, as you can see, they do have trebles on the bottom, so they're just gonna get messed up. Where you do want to fish these is any type of open water that's somewhat shallow. I'd say 5 to 8 feet, even less if you want to. Especially, it depends on water clarity, and to fish it is super simple. you're just you're popping your rod, honestly. Now it is kind of the same as a frog when you see the fish take it. When they gulp it under, you do want to wait 1.5, maybe 2 seconds to set the hook, just to ensure, like I said before with the frog, that it's all the way in their mouth. Now the rod that I would be fishing this on is, I think I'd go a little bit lighter with this guy. I don't know if I'd throw it on a bait caster, you can, but I usually would probably throw it on 7.5, maybe a 7.6 medium spinning rod. That's just because it's not that heavy of a bait, so it's gonna be pretty hard to cast it with a bait caster. There are some heavier ones, like a spook you'd probably wanna throw on a bait caster, but these smaller poppers like this that are hollow, and Dale would just... Okay, oh my goodness, I'm sorry. Where was I? I think I was spook, throwing a bait caster. These hollow body lighter poppers, throwing a spinning, like I said, a 7.5, maybe 7.6, medium rod. Fish that clean water. If you find some rocks, pop it over the rocks and you're guaranteed to get bit. All right, so that was bait number 3. That was bait number 3. That was bait number 3. Sorry, my brain is scrambled because of Dale. Anyway, okay, so for bait number 4, it is going to be something like this right here, if I can focus on that. This is a Strike King Rage Craw. It's actually very simple to fish. Honestly, you just throw it on a flipping hook, offset, and you throw a tungsten weight on there. It depends on how heavy the stuff you're flipping is. Will determine how heavy your weight is. But yeah, the 2 places I usually fish this are if I'm on a boat and I'm out deep. You want to look for drop-offs because fish like to reside on the drop-offs. Or if you're fishing, let's say for smallmouth and there are a whole bunch of boulders, you flip this next to the boulders and stuff like that, and they'll crunch them. Or if I'm up shallow, I will fish this into the reeds. I'll flip it into the reeds or like tree branches and stuff like that. And all you do is you flip it out there, you let it sink to the bottom, and you slowly crawl it back. It's as simple as that, honestly. What I'm going to throw that on is a 7.6 medium heavy to heavy bait casting rod. The reel I'm going to use is a 6-1, like always. That's just what I always use. I mean, honestly, I'm probably going to use a 6-1 for pretty much everything. The line I'm going to use is braid, and I am going to use probably straight braid. I'm throwing straight braid, and I'll probably throw like 30 to 35 pound braid, to be honest with you. That's just so that you hook that fish, you can get it through those branches and those reeds, and you just pull it out with no problem. Okay, so that was bait number 4. Now let's move on to bait number 5. This is going to be the final bait. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so if you haven't guessed by now, the 5th bait, and this bait, let me tell you, this bait works so well for all type of conditions. It catches so many fish, big and small. It just is a fantastic invention, and that is this. Oh god. Oh, and that is this little bugger right here. This is a Senko. That particular Senko is made by Gary Yamamoto. I'm not paid to say this, but Gary Yamamoto Senkos are literally the best Senkos, dude. They're just so good. They got good salt, good flavor, good scent, everything. All you do is you wacky rig it. And if you don't know what a wacky rig is, I will show you very quickly. Okay, so let's just say that this hook here is connected to my main line. So what you're gonna do to wacky rig this is literally, it's so simple. All you do is you take the hook, let me see if I can get that into focus. So you take the hook and you just put it through the middle and come out the other side so that it looks something like this here. I don't know if that's focused, but that there is super simple. This Senko is extremely hairy, I just dropped that before. But yeah, that's all it is to a wacky rig. Now these sink slow, so what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna cast it out there and you're gonna let it sink for a good amount of time because they do sink slow. And then you're just gonna twitch it up and let it sink back down to the bottom. Reel in, twitch it up, let it sink back down to the bottom. You're gonna do that the whole way back to the boat. Now, the rod and reel I'm gonna be throwing this on is not a bait catcher, it's actually going to be a spinning rod. I personally would be throwing it on my Fenwick Eagle. There it is right there, the Fenwick Eagle. I'd use a Lew's Tournament Pro Series TP400HP. This is a very good reel. And honestly, I'm throwing, I wouldn't throw any heavier than 8 or 10 pound test on there. I've got 8 pound mono on here right now. You can throw braid, you can throw fluorocarbon. I just throw mono just because that's just what I happen to have on here. But it's super simple. I already told you how to retrieve it or how to reel it in and stuff like that. So very, very good bait. Very, very effective in catching fish. If the bite's tough and you're not catching them on crankbaits, top waters, or even this structure bug here, or this rage craw, you throw a Senko in there and 95% of the time you will get bit. Even if you're fishing this rage craw here and you happen to set the hook on a fish and then you hook it but it comes off, you throw this, oftentimes actually you can throw this Senko right back in there and he'll bite the Senko. I don't know what it is, it's just like a super finesse presentation and the bass just love it. I don't know what it is. It's amazing. It's an amazing invention and it catches fish like none other. So that has been my top 5 favorite summer bass fishing baits. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you found this somewhat instructional. I hope I can help you guys go out and catch some more fish this summer. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what you guys want to see next. If you want to see any more informational videos, if you want to see more in-depth informational videos, like I briefly covered frog fishing in this video. If you want to know a lot more about frog fishing, if you want me to get like super in-depth on frog fishing, how to fish them, when to fish them, what like conditions to fish them in, and same thing with any of these baits, let me know in the comments below and I will try to get a video out for you guys ASAP so that you can go catch some more fish. So hope you guys enjoyed, and as always, fish every day.